host of Black Nerds Matter, and I'm a marine ecologist from Deltona, Florida, and I'm excited to be here with you guys today.
Hey guys, my name is Lovely. I'm the host of the Healing Through Conversations podcast, where we talk about everything regarding mental health, the failures, successes, and I am excited to be here today. Today, we get to have a really interesting topic. I'm really interested in hearing from Deidric and how he connects his passion and purpose with self care and how he turns his intellectual curiosity, aka my nerdism, into sustainable work with all the things that he does in his life. So, one of the things that we had to do, we had two questions that we wanted to bring to the table. So, Deidric, do you want to ask me the question or do you want me to start first?
You can start first. I have them pulled up, but you're already on a great roll. Yeah, I think you're doing great already.
No problem. So, I tried to make sure that our questions were a little simple because I know that both of us get off of work and our brains are working overtime. So, I wanted to make sure that we could have a good conversation. So, with all you do in science and storytelling and community work, how do you refresh yourself after a long day?
So for me, it's fairly simple. I usually do something outdoorsy or athletic, sometimes both. So after work tomorrow, I'm planning on going rock climbing. A lot of what I do is either so I live in Florida, like I mentioned earlier. So we have a lot of like indoor workout areas, and then we have
Hmm.
outdoor spaces. So for me, I usually either go surfing after work, I go rock climbing, or I go running, or even longboarding with my dog. It just depends on what I'm in the mood for today. Usually I do at least two or three of those things. I always have to take my dog walking, so that's a pretty consistent one. But those are huge for me. I really enjoy that, and getting a chance to play video games and then just do stuff like this where I'm able to connect with other Black creatives. It always fuels me and makes me excited to looking forward to the next day.
No, I love your activities. I just want to know, does your doggy get to go boarding with you? Does your doggy know that yet?
No, she if you've probably seen like cute videos on Instagram or YouTube where they have like the little dogs on the surfboard, all these kind of things. I wish I could take my dog. She can swim fine, but the beaches that we go to aren't really dog beaches, and then dog beaches aren't very good for her because she's not like other dogs. So if I try to get her on a board at a dog beach, she's gonna run after another dog. I'm not gonna have control of her, all these other kind of things. So at this point right now, I just get on my longboard, like my skateboard, and I have her pull me down the street, and she's just going like Mach 10 down the street, pulling me, and I'm able to like practice almost like my longboarding, surfing moves while she's pulling me because she's about as unpredictable as a wave would be in the wild.
I understand I have a German Shepherd. We don't know what he's going to do, but we know he's not going to do what we tell him to. That's pretty much where we are. Um, and also, just to follow that up, with regards to your love for the water and everything, um, kind of, I was thinking to myself today, I'm like, oh, he does so many things. I would love to know what made you so interested in water, just your foundation for that.
Oh, so why I got interested in ocean stuff. Yeah,
Yes.
that's a great question. It's pretty much been all I know. I mean, it's hard talking to my friends sometimes and different people who are like, "Oh, what kind of advice would you want for your career?" Da 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 da. But for me, I knew I wanted to be a marine biologist since I was a little kid. I mean, I was 4 years old. We went to SeaWorld in San Antonio. I write about this on all my essays, like for grad school, different internships, whatever the case may be. So this is always fresh in my head. But remember seeing a hammerhead shark chasing after a little fish, likely a wrasse, which is a type of coral reef fish, and I saw that and thought it was the coolest thing ever. I remember asking my mom, like, like what do people do that like work here? Like, what's this? I don't remember exactly what I said, but something along those lines. And she's like, "Oh, that's a marine biologist, sweetie," that kind of thing. And then I sat there and just that's all I could think playing through my head is I'm gonna be a marine biologist. Like I'm telling everyone when I'm 6, 7, 8 years old when I want to be when I grew up. I'm like, oh, I'm a marine biologist. And that never ended. I mean, I got interested in other things growing up, like wanting to do sports, whatever. But I knew no matter what, even if I became a famous track star or, made money doing something else, I was always going to do marine biology. So it's never died in my mind. I've always loved it.
I love that. See, my interest in the water came from PBS. public broadcast stations, just living in the city and having the opportunity to see more than just what was around me. So I love what you're doing, because it's like, okay, I get to see a Black person actually take all of the things that I was interested in and actually do it. Because if you put me in water, you'll be like, she just died. Like, it's just that was never going to be my thing. But I respect the work that you guys put in to help us learn more about some of the things that we don't know about. So that was my
Yeah,
question.
I was gonna say I have a follow-up question for you based off you saying that. So how much representation did you see of Black and brown people in science or like in ocean stuff? I want to know.
None. None on PBS, none on Maryland Public Television. It was Jacques Cousteau at the very beginning. That lets you know how old I
Hmm.
am. But it was one of those things where instantaneous. I started off with whale watching, and I just thought
Hmm.
it was so cool listening to the whales. And then I got interested in the sharks, and then I was interested in the morbid things. Like, I love how safe and unsafe the ocean is, and so it just really took me there. But all that I've learned about science up until I became an adult and really looked out, other than teachers and things like that, and started really searching and having more, being more inquisitive. Black representation, no, it was not there. It was kind of like, the peanut butter, or it was, hair supplies, but nothing with regards to marine biology or anything like that.
They love using George Washington Carver. Not saying it's not a bad scientist or anything. It's just that's the low hanging fruit. We have other people now. And something that kind of pinged in my mind when you were talking about that is you said the morbid things. I want to hear you explain what do you mean by that?
With regard to morbid, for me,
Yeah,
now let
yeah.
me say this. I tell everybody that I know, I am, if you had like a picture of scared and then there was a chicken behind it, I am the chicken. So it's a lot of things that I just am like, no, I'm not going to do that. But I'm always interested in dams, and I love hurricanes and tornadoes and how those things are affected by water. And then just
Hmm.
the deep sea. I'm not even talking about like, oh, it glows in the dark. I'm like, no, I'm talking about the subsection where it's a whole different atmosphere sitting underneath of another atmosphere. And then there are living things that are in there that we shouldn't be a part of, but we go and mess them up sometimes anyway. So like those type of things for me, where I know if I ever came in contact with it, instant heart attack, but it's okay. I'm still going to read about it, and then I get to close my book or click off the website. I'm good.
Yeah, that's interesting. You mentioned deep sea. I know a bunch of people doing deep sea now. There's actually the first Black woman to go to the bottom of the ocean was on my show. Her name's Dawn Wright, and she was talking a lot about like her experience being like a Black woman growing up and doing this kind of stuff. So I would definitely recommend you and people listening and check out her work because she's awesome. But speaking of the morbid things, some of the stuff I study, for instance, I told you about the hammerhead shark chasing the wrasse, the fish I was talking about. So most of the stuff I study is food interactions. So predator prey interactions. So I like to tell people I enjoy watching things eat other things, and that's really what a lot of my job is watching. Okay, a fish eat some algae or some plants in the ocean, and then that fish being eaten by another fish, then eaten by another fish, then be eaten by a stingray, then eaten by a shark, and then that all how that all moves, all that energy. And at the end of the day, it's funny. You learn about food webs in school and food chains, but all the energy we're eating is just energy from the sun being pushed up through a pyramid, which is really cool. So it's funny to think that at the end of the day, sunlight is the reason you're eating that fish or that animal, and it's just interesting to me. So that's why that ties into the kind of morbid things. I mean, I've seen more dead fish, dead dolphins, and stuff than someone probably should ever see in their life, but it's just kind of part of the territory.
No, I will say that I'm 49, and back when just VCRs were the thing, they used to have, let me think if I can think about it. It was like weird acts of science, or it may have been something even morbid than that, when it would be like the killer whales and how they attack the seals, and then you would like have it happen and happen. And I'm like, at some point you have to stop. For me, I had to stop because I'm like, it just keeps getting darker and darker, and I don't want to be a part of that particular thing. But I think that really brings us around to just being inquisitive and figuring out what works best for you, because my rule of thumb is you have to see somebody who looks like you, or who has interest in something that you are interested in order for you to even know that it's a realm of a possibility. And I think that for me is where, when I read the name of your podcast, Black Nerds Matter, I'm like, I've been saying this for years, but I think that it's so important, because the stereotype of the nerd via Hollywood is so different than the people that I see, that I think are just the coolest people out there. But having people who look like us be in spaces that may not always have been represented by us, I think is just a wonderful and refreshing way of showing kids that diversity means so many things. It's not just black and white.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you think of prototypical nerd, I mean, you can think of almost the image of one from the 80s or the 90s, went to a tiny white guy who's really skinny with glasses and braces and, like a pencil protector on his shirt right here. You know what I mean? That's the kind of thing you think of, but it's not necessarily that. There's a lot of people who do sports or are politicians or all these other things who are nerds, and that can mean anything, any kind of niche interest that you might find as, kind of weird, maybe off-putting to someone who wouldn't be interested, but people that love it, love it. I mean, I think of like Star Wars is a great example. You talk to someone who doesn't like Star Wars about it, they're like, oh man, this is boring. Space politics, you're losing me. But someone who loves it, there, oh my God,
In
the
it.
intricacies of the
Yeah.
government and the rebels and all these other things and the empire. It's so important. Like, this is so interesting. You like that too? That's your favorite character? That's my favorite character. We're friends now, and I think that's such a good way for people to bridge gaps with each other. And speaking about bridging gaps, I'm seeing a lot with your work is that you do mental health and infidelity recovery, confidence rebuilding. How are you able to bridge the gaps between people and even like their relationships and even with themselves after events like that happen?
Well, one of the things that my pillar is that I don't talk about anything that I haven't gone through. I'm real honest and upfront with that, which is already considered revolutionary, when telling the truth should be like the bare minimum. It should really be the bare minimum. But what I've learned about us is that when you are put in safe spaces where you're not judged for what you're going through, and you're allowed to have conversations about the things that you feel on the inside, it neutralizes a lot of that guilt and shame that we attach to the topic. So like the topic infidelity, most people are like, I don't want to talk about that because then my business is out there, so I can't follow you for
Hmm.
that. I can follow you for the fashion, I can follow you for the girly stuff. And if I watch the things about infidelity, I'm not really putting myself out there. So for me, my coaching style is really about the confidence side, right? So if we're talking about infidelity and we're building confidence, I want to help build the person. I'm not here to build the relationship or the business. Because when you start loving who you are and you can be honest with yourself, it makes it a whole lot easier to connect with other people. But when you haven't yet found the honesty in yourself, it makes it really hard for you to see a person tell you something that may hurt your feelings and not be offended by that. So I
Yeah.
try to make sure that my approach is more on I always say I'm the offensive side versus defense side. I don't want you to have to fight from the bottom. I want you to learn how to fight from the top, and or plan and have strategic planning when you can about your mental health and relationships, because they're so important. Period. They're so important. It doesn't matter if it's platonic or intimate, because infidelity with your best friend, like, or infidelity with a coworker that you thought, because infidelity, yes, we always attach it to sex, but that intimacy that we have with people and then it be broken, it feels like a death sometimes. So I'm like, let's talk about
Hmm.
those things and how we can build each other from the inside out.
Yeah, I think that's really powerful. I mean, just speaking as someone who's dealt with just hard to navigate personal relationships, like difficult relationships. I mean, I'm 23, so I haven't had all the relationships in the world, but I've been doing a lot of work on myself to get better at expressing my emotions on all these different things. And I've met with so many people on the show and in real life that just bring so much vulnerability to what they do and what's important. And I think it's just so important as like black people that we're very vulnerable, because I think a lot of people don't feel it like they should be getting help, and oh, this is my stuff, like this is my business, this is whatever, kind of how you
Mhm.
were saying, like, about that. And I think it's just so important to, especially as like black men and black women, to be vulnerable with each other, because then people understand, like, it's not this stigma of, oh, I'm soft or I'm weak for feeling sad or whatever. I mean, if there's a movie and a character dies that you care about, it's okay if you cry. You're not like a punk, or,
I
even
think
worse
so.
terms for that. It's okay to have feelings. Like, we're not robots, and having like this, misogynistic view on things, like, oh, I need to be tough and strong. I'm a man. I don't cry. And my wife needs to be soft and sweet and cook me dinner and do all this stuff. Like, it just stems from a lot of emotional immaturity, I think. And I think it's kind of sucks that a lot of our culture is bled into that. You grow up seeing your grandma and your mama and your daddy making meals for each other, and dad going to work and mom being at home cooking and cleaning. And then it's like, what kind of, like, my generation, like, a lot of people are breaking out of that, and
Yeah.
it's seen as taboo. And I think that that's crazy.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think that for so long we allowed life to teach us how to be like monoliths. Like everything had to be so stereotypical. It had to be very I always tell people that 27-minute sitcom, you had the mom who was kind of witty and a little lost, and the dad who made the sarcastic jokes, and they sometimes they loved each other. On like the third episode, they like held hands or something. And my thing was, I'm like, I don't feed into that. I've been with my husband since we were 13 and 14, and we're going on like 36 years of being together, which is nowadays considered like we're old. Like we are very old to a lot of people, especially in relationships. But when you're in a relationship this long, things happen, and how you navigate those things and how we present ourselves to our children, we're super open. We I want them to know that your relationship can be hard, and it can be soft, and it can be funny, and it can be sarcastic, and you can have all of these different places within it. Like we're so much deeper than you're a man and I'm a woman in life. But
Yeah.
being a black couple to other black couples, I always say I'm not couples goals, because you don't ever really want the life of the person that you keep saying that to. Like I don't want to have to go through what somebody else through to become the couple. But I also know that when you talk about
Hmm.
the things that you've gone through, it makes it easier for the next person looking to be in a relationship to say, you know what, I really respect this couple, and they told me this thing, so let me be on the lookout for it. Or they told me this thing, let me accept that love. I might not have come from a household that was like that. I didn't come from a household where people were affectionate. I had to learn that, which was really hard. So I commend you on working on
Hmm.
yourself, because it'll make whatever relationship you decide to really dive deep into, it'll make it that much deeper.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I learned. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
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 Without.
Um, is it okay now?
It's kind of, it had you lagging just a little bit.
Okay. I was if it ever cuts out, let me know. But
Okay.
I think something you said was really powerful there, just about just even like relationships and having to talk and having to communicate about all these different things and working on yourself. But I think the biggest part of it is just that component of working on yourself, because it's tough when you're with somebody and they're trying to figure themselves out, and you're trying to figure yourselves out, and you're trying to keep a relationship together when you're both working on yourself. It's like, well, it's not really, it's almost like three relationships are being built at the same time versus one. You know what I'm saying? Like, when you're building a house, whatever the case is, you need a good foundation. If you're trying
Yes.
to build a house and you try to put beds in before the foundation is settled, it's hard. And that was something I had really learned, was I have to, love myself first, so that when I get to this person, they're not giving me anything that I need. I'm able to give all the stuff I need to myself.
Yes.
and then they're giving me extra. Like, okay, I'm already happy, I'm already great, but this person adds another layer. They don't, there's going to be times when I'm helping them out where I may dip to 95% or whatever, but I don't ever want it to be where I'm at 70% because I'm with this person. I want to always be within that threshold, within 10% of, 100. But I want
Mhm.
most of the time me to be above, and they help me when I fall below to that 80 or whatever, they bring me back up. And it's just really hard. You really have to know yourself and know what you want. I feel like a lot of times it's hard for people because they just don't know what they want, or they want this life. Like I've met like older people who have been divorced or whatever, and they say like, yeah, I want a relationship because I thought that's what I want. I thought I wanted to have because I thought I wanted to do all these things, and they didn't necessarily want it because that's what they wanted. They got it because it's what society kind of thrust onto them, and it's like, and I find that it's idiotic, in my personal opinion, to have kids or to have a relationship with someone because that's what you're supposed to be doing. I'm like, why do anything if you don't want to? And I think a lot of times that's why people can have relationships where they're having infidelity or issues or all these different things, because your mind is in all these other places. You're not actually in this thing that you set up. You did this because it's the safe option and it's good to go back home and bring your wife or your girlfriend with you, but you don't really want to be alone with yourself to have to think about those things that keep you up at night.
No, I agree with you. And I think I always tell people, one, you're going to constantly be on a journey of self discovery, no matter who you are, especially if you are a very open and honest person with yourself. There's always going to be a bit of you that's discovering new things. Or I always tell people, prior to COVID happening, I was wasn't I wouldn't say I was a social butterfly. I still don't feel like a social butterfly, but I was very much a just ride the waves very low. I was always helping somebody, helping put music shows on, but I love being in the back. And then COVID happened, and I just my spiritual calling was like, okay, we're going to talk about mental health because a lot of things were happening during COVID that I just felt out of control, but I felt like having conversations would be a way to heal. It would help us connect, and everybody was in the house. And then it just kept rolling. People kept asking the questions about relationships and learning about yourself. And I realized that I could paint, and I knew how to, I mean, like actual paintings that's on my walls now, things that I wouldn't have known. But my husband was like, I didn't know you could paint, babe. I was like, I didn't either. Like sometimes the trauma brings out your creativity. And I wonder for you, when you hit a difficult time, how does creativity come out for you?
Creativity comes out for me through a few different lenses. For me, a lot of it is with the show. Like I do a lot of, like, at times when it was really tough to get jobs. I mean, you just know the economy and kind of how things are. It was really tough getting a job fresh out of school. I graduated school about this time last year, or this time a couple of years ago in 24. So I was at home in my parents' house, and I was like, damn, I mean, used to travel so much for research, and like I am now, but back then I was traveling all the time. I was like, man, this is awesome. And then I got home back to my parents, and I was like, damn, I used to have such an exciting life. Like this sucks. So I had to find ways to to kind of fill myself. And I spent a lot of that time meeting up with people online with this platform, and it was sweet. I mean, got a chance to really kind of discover some things and learn some things. And one person even helped me, make a better resume so I could get a job. And it was just like some awesome things like that that were really great to learn. But like another thing I would say is just creative. I talked a bit about like kind of the physical stuff and the working out, but that's a lot of it. Like I just kind of find something new physical thing I want to do. Like when I was living in LA, I was working 70 hours a week helping out the fires in Eaton and Altadena. And so I just said, okay, like I have money now. I'm an adult, I have my own car, all this stuff. I'm gonna go to a rock climbing thing. This is a new thing. And for me, I like to just try stuff. I like being a beginner at things because I mean I can only get better. It's like same with surfing and running, all this stuff. I mean, I can only get better from where I'm at. So as long as I'm okay with looking silly and sucking at first, then I mean you get past it, you get past that beginner part and you're able to have fun. So that's kind of how my creativity is. Like I just want to find, like if I'm somewhere new, I'm gonna try to find a local thing that people do. Like I want to go skydiving here soon just because I can. Like I just like to find new random things for myself to do. They fuel me in that way. I like to be jack of all trades when it comes to my activities. So nothing really defines me, no singular thing at least.
No, I love that so much. I feel like for me, that just reminds me of why you love education so much, right? Because we're all at the beginning, we don't know exactly what we don't know what we don't know, but that inquisitiveness, that need to follow up with a question, that need to do more research, to take another CLE class, to become certified in something that makes no sense to anybody else around you, but you know that eventually it's going to connect you to this next thing. For me, that's a big thing. I did a webinar today with Shepard Pratt, and they were talking about immigration and racism, and
Hmm.
that's a huge part of my humanity, because I'm not one of those people that say we're all, everybody, a person is a person. I'm like, we're still culturally, I'm black, so like the monolith of just being a person is a person, it's like slapping me in my face every day. It makes me crazy. But just learn,
Hmm.
like, I love the idea of constantly learning how to do something, how to manipulate your body, or even learn new techniques. I'm one of those people where if you tell me I can't do something, I'm probably within reason gonna do it just to see if I can do it, and never tell you that I did it. It's not even done for bragging rights. It's just like, let's see if that worked. Except, like I said, I'm probably not your water girl. No, not. Mm-mm. I don't mind flying. I don't mind boats, all the stuff. But you just want me to be in the water? Now I went coral reef. I'm swimming with turtles before. Coral reef. We went like the little, and that was cute. And I was like, okay, get me back on that boat. Just get me back on the boat.
Yeah, and I mean, it's funny. A lot of people kind of have that s- sentiment when it comes to water. It's just how it is. But I mean, it's people, different strokes for different folks. Everyone likes their different things, and I think it's just very important to know that. And speaking of like knowing that, what what are you able to do to help people like understand themselves and learn about themselves? I think it's really hard. I mean, I think a lot of people, especially a lot of like older men, do not look at themselves and like look in the mirror and say, "Hey, how can I be better?" You know.
Yeah. No, one of the things that I learned about human nature, and like I always love the saying, like, I can't quite prove it, but people are so afraid to talk about themselves. They're so afraid to talk about themselves because judgment is huge. Shame and guilt is built into almost every conversation, especially the older the generation is. When you start talking about yourself, you need to be humble. Why are you bragging? You're being conceited. Don't make other people feel bad. But what I love to do is give people a safe space to talk about the things that they love and the things that they don't love. Because I really feel like a good listener is a great whiteboard. You tell me what's happening, you say everything that you're thinking about, and then I'm not here to tell you how to live your life. I'm just here to help you organize your thoughts. Sometimes, most of the time, we all have the answer. We know what we want to do, we know where we're going to go, whether it's going to be good or bad. But a lot of people don't have places where they can just talk about what's happening and hear it out loud, because sometimes you'll say something out loud and be like, why did I do that? Or why didn't I do that? And being inquisitive and asking yourself follow-up questions. But when you're in a relationship and you're having angst, or you're in a relationship and things are going good but something feels a little bit off, you're like, do I fight or do I keep the peace? Instead of being like, how about we have a space where on Tuesday nights we're allowed to ask as many questions as possible, and it stays on Tuesday nights. Next Tuesday night, we follow back up with those things. For my husband and I, it's called We in the Bed. So we get in the bed and then we talk about whatever, and then we hash it out and then we get out. But I think a lot of people they're afraid to talk, and they don't have safe spaces to talk. So I allow people to talk as much as I can handle without going dead in the eyes, because I can do that. I know me. Like, you can glaze over. So I'm like, don't do that to people.
No, I mean, I totally agree with that. I feel like it's also just communication is hard. I mean, people really have to work. I hear a lot in like especially relationships, people, oh, I want somebody that communicates, and they want that until they're with somebody that wants to communicate. Like people love saying like it's kind of like a buzz where like, hey, this is what I want to do. I want someone to talk to someone about stuff. But then when it comes to talking, which that may mean talking at a time you don't want to, talking
Mm-hmm.
at a time that's inconvenient,
Mm-hmm.
having a talk that didn't go so well. It's not just talk about stuff. I get to say everything I want to say, and then that you just take that, and then I go away and you deal with that. Like, no,
Yeah.
we have to have a back and forth, and sometimes that's what it is. I had learned a lot about those kind of things. So yeah, no, I appreciate you sharing that. So it's just I feel like it's very hard to it's hard to understate how important that is for people to be able to have someone that can listen to. I was very fortunate that my mom was really great at listening and she'll really talk to me about things. But for me, I was like, dude, I gotta go get a therapist because I need somebody who's professional because my mom's smart, but dude, she don't know everything. And I need
You
somebody
don't.
that's telling me because I don't mind being wrong. I just want to know if what I'm thinking is logical or not. And I have so many times when I'm like with like friends or ex-partners or whatever, where I'm like, man, I feel this way and I can't tell if this is wrong. And I just want to know the definite answer. If I'm okay with being wrong, but I want to know, but I don't feel like I am, and I don't know what the right answer is for this. If I knew the correct answer, I would do it. But some things, as you know, with most things, especially being someone who works with mental health and all that, most things aren't black and white. They're not binary where it's either yes or no. It's kind of you
Mm-hmm.
gotta find somewhere in the middle. And when you're struggling to find somewhere in the middle with someone, I'm like, dude, I need to outsource what's going on here. I mean, how are we supposed to be having trainers for our bodies and then people that manage our money and then people that
Mm-hmm.
fix our cars, but we're not paying anyone to help us organize our mind? I feel like that's silly.
No, I agree with you so much. And I think that was the main reason why I started Lovely Esteem, my company, was because I said there is this space in between being an intellectual and somebody who is just inquisitive, right? Like everybody can't speak to you in your work language, right? So like you have to learn how to have layman's conversations, regular conversations, because sometimes what turns people off about mental health is just the wording. You can say something so completely different, put a little bit of a twist on it, and they're like, "Oh, okay." I'm like, "Did you take your insulin?" "Yeah, of course. I have diabetes." "Okay, all right." "And you haven't stopped crying in the last what, 3 months?" "Yeah, I don't know what's happening with me." And a therapist isn't going to work. What about you talk to a coach or a mentor? It's kind of like a counselor, but it's like a counselor light. That's what I tell people. They're like, "Oh, okay." I'm like, because sometimes you need steps. Some people are just stuck on church. "I have to talk to my pastor about it." I'm like, your pastor has to talk to somebody too. Like your pastor doesn't just take everything that everybody gives them and has nobody else to talk to as well. He's not just talking to the Lord. And the Lord gave these doctors and the clinicians these skill sets to be able to talk to you and help you work through those things. So like sometimes having conversations, which can be frustrating when you're talking about mental health, but a lot of it has to do with, like you said previously, having healthy communication styles. And a lot of us didn't grow up having healthy communications conversations with our parents, with the sit down and shut up, kids need to be
Hmm.
put in a kid's place. Why are you asking me these questions? When your parent probably really meant, I don't have the answer, but I can't tell you that because I don't want to look weak in front of you, right? When most kids are like, if you don't know the answer and I don't know the answer, let's do it together, mom, or let's do it together, dad. Like, let's learn it together. But I just, when I was raising, I have three children, 23, 25, and 28. And my big rule when I first had my children was I want to be the parent where I can say I'm sorry, which is hard. I won't even lie to people. But if my kids were upset about something, I would say, "Tell me what I did wrong so I can fix it." If it was an issue that I could fix. And that's how they were all raised. So now I live in a house where sometimes the conversation get real dicey. You like, let me keep my mouth shut before it gets real crazy in this house. But I'm really big on communication and setting boundaries. Huge on setting boundaries.
Yeah, I think that's a huge part of it. You're talking about boundaries. It's important to know what you can and who you can say things to. Because I've had issues like in my own life where, okay, I know I shouldn't do this thing. I know I shouldn't talk to this person. I know but I can't stop myself, and I don't have the self worth or the better judgment at this point because I can only see this. Okay, this is person, I don't like them, I can't deal with them. But then they put that bone in front of me or that carrot on a stick. I'm like, okay, I want it. You know what I mean? It's just kind of things you learn with age, but it's very hard when you're not taught all those kind of things as a kid, or you haven't experienced them, whatever the case may be. And a lot of people I know, especially people my age, especially like black, we're learning how to communicate with people, how to have friendships, how to have good relationships later on, because our parents, grandparents, and whoever else didn't necessarily model that, or didn't really necessarily model conflict resolution. It's more or less, okay, mom and dad
Mm.
are mad at each other, we're not talking, they're not talking. This is what it is. Or someone's yelling. It's not necessarily, hey, we're working on this, da 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 da. I understand you, you understand me. Okay, we're good. It's just fire, nothing, fire, nothing. You know what I mean? So it's just it's interesting. It's definitely interesting to deal with that. So with you talking to all these people, doing all this, spending time with your family, how are you able to refresh yourself? I know you asked me that earlier, but I want to know more about the painting and what makes lovely lovely.
I spend, and this is, it sounds like I'm exaggerating, but no lie. I spend an hour with myself every morning. It doesn't matter. I don't care what's happening. It could be burning outside. I spend 1 hour in the morning doing whatever I love to do, be it a face routine or painting or putting together a new podcast episode, or
Mhm.
kind of just sitting and being quiet. I think for me, one of the hardest things was to sit down and be quiet and learn how to quiet my thoughts. Because when you are a thinker and an thinker, you can like start in one space, and then by the time I'm finished, like it's a whole new movie that had started in my head. So really it was learning how to have time with myself where I could be quiet and kind of settle down. I also love nature rides. I love the fall weather. I don't love that it gets dark early, but I love fall weather. I love watching the earth like morph into something new. Everything except winter. Winter is crap. But other than that, I just love that. And I love spending time with my family. It makes like something about spending time with my children and my husband. It rejuvenates me in a way that they are my people. Like if I had to choose to only be around certain people, I would pick them, and not because they're my children, but because I love how they are individually on their own without me being attached to them. So that is super huge for me.
That's awesome. That's really awesome that you feel that way about your family. I think most people dream to feel that way about all the people in their intermediate family. I'm really happy for you about that for sure. Um,
I do have a
yeah,
question for
that
you.
yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
How has your job helped you relate better to the people that you care about?
Oh, so my like the different jobs I've had, or the job I'm
Mhm.
working
Yeah.
currently.
Your job now, whatever you're doing in this very moment, or even you're traveling and helping with like the fires and different things like that. How has that helped you with your relationships, the people who are close to you?
Oh, like how it's affected, like family
Hmm.
relationships and like friends and stuff.
Yeah, and how you
Yeah,
treat them and connect with them, and yeah.
it's kind of hard because I can just drop off the face of the earth at any moment, more or less. I mean, it's interesting. I just went to Texas for my granny's 80th birthday, and it was like all the family was there. I got to see like some of my friends because that's where I grew up, and it was really cool. But she was like excited and was like crying when she saw me because she didn't expect me to make it, just because I'm always busy, I'm always somewhere, and so that's like something that made it tough. I try to make time to like call my grandparents like every month, and I talk to like my best friends all the time. Uh, but it was just tough. Like there was a time I was living in French Polynesia for 2 months and had no service. I was in Indonesia for a week, traveling like 14-hour flights, all this crazy stuff, and I could not really talk to my family. And then when I was living in LA, working 70 hours, didn't have a lot of time. So it makes those moments when you do hang out really nice, because you really it seems like every time you talk to someone you care about, you do miss them because you don't get a lot of time. And when I'm somewhere, I try to be very present and enjoy that time. So, for instance, when I was in LA, I was in LA. I'd call my family here and there, but I'm not just on the phone all day of the week.
Hmm.
Like I'll take my time to journal and do my thing to take care of myself mentally, but On the weekends, I'm not just going to see my friends or hopping on a FaceTime call late at night to try to be somewhere that I'm not. I was going to
Yeah.
Six Flags, I was going to the beach, I was going to the mountains. And I really just enjoy that time because I think it's made it really a lot easier for me to make friends and be more likable, if that makes sense, just because I'm doing a lot of things. So when I'm meeting more people, I have more things to relate to them with. So even if it's someone I have nothing, I thought I'd have nothing in common with, I've done so many things up until this point in my life that I know we have one or two things we can talk about. So then when
Yeah.
I have someone I can't relate to, I'm like, okay, well, I'm trying my best. I don't know what else I can do. You know what I mean? So that's the thing is that it makes it really easy to see out where people are coming from and how it makes it. I think being like well traveled, I guess is the way I want to put it, makes it easier to be empathetic with people and what's going on. Like for instance, I plan to go to grad school to study fishing and how small fishing towns are affected by climate change and big fishing industry fishing because I've
Oh,
been
dang.
in on
Okay.
islands. Yeah, I've lived on islands and worked with people who are living in a small fishing town where they can't go to Walmart or Costco to go pick up stuff. They're literally bartering food with like their neighbors and all these kind of things. They're on a small island where, if they don't bring in any fish, all the fish die. All those people are going to starve. They don't have the money to go fly, 2,000 miles away back to the mainland. All this other stuff. They're here.
Yeah.
So that kind of stuff is very interesting to me, and I'm able to see what a lot of people are going through and what they have on day to day, and be like, okay, I can understand that. I've seen that before. I understand it. And even this was the biggest thing in LA. I saw so much homelessness that was crazy for me. I lived in the suburbs most
Yeah.
of my life, where um, the wealth kind of went in a gradient. Like it was the rich folks in one neighborhood, then you get to middle class, and you keep going. It's very gradual to where it's like poor areas, but it's never like that big of a drop off. Versus in LA, my company's paying for my apartment. I'm living like this cushy LA apartment. I feel very, very fortunate. I'm very happy with the position I have. But I will go down to the lobby and get in my car and see someone who was like butt naked, had nothing. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And people in my apartment complex have Lamborghinis and and they have like Corvettes, all these like sports cars, like Mercedes, all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, wow, I mean I could walk on the street and meet LeBron James, like the richest man or whatever in LA, whoever it is, and then meet a person who hasn't eaten in a restaurant or had warm, clean food in 3 or 4 years. You know what I mean? So that kind of thing really changed my perspective and made me see the world differently. And if I didn't have that experience, I would have always been a guy from the suburbs who just always saw people in my same economic status and only saw poor people on TV. You know what I'm saying?
No, I mean, what in that really is, you answered the question like in a circle, but that's the thing that I was really wondering, like with you being able to have all of these different levels of the human experience, right? Because you said you're 23.
Yeah.
Yeah, that by itself sets you up to it really sets you up for such a wonderful life, in the sense where you'll have a good ground of where real life is happening. Because no, sometimes you just where a lot of people, the study was done years ago where it said most people only travel within 5 miles of where they live. So they shop, go to school, and have fun, maybe go to a movie. Everything kind of is set up, especially here in Maryland. It's kind of set up for you to be in your own little ecosystem, and you don't really go anywhere else. Versus my husband is one of those people who think that from Maryland to Maine is up the street. He's like, "Oh, we're just ride up to Maine today." I'm like, "Yeah, sounds around the corner, but no, that's like 7 hours, dude. Like, where are we going? Just to go look at a motorcycle? Okay, let's go." But it's a beautiful ride. So I love that part of connecting with people. But you have being able to see just the different levels of the human experience gives you a bit of a third eye into the world. So when somebody comes up to you with like low hanging fruit, you're not like, "Oh, that looks great." You're like, question myself. Like, I have questions for you. I have red flags that are showing up, and let's have more conversations about what's happening. Which is, it's one of the things that I love. And I know I keep saying Black nerds matter, but back in my day, if you said nerd, I don't even know if nerds is a bad word now. But when I was in school in the 90s, it was like crazy. But I used to call all of me and my girlfriends, we were the cute nerds. And not that we were cute or not cute. It just made us feel better because of whatever we were going through. But those women are still my friends now. Like my 10th grade best friend is still my best friend. We just realized we had to change
Really?
our hair and take out the bangle earrings, but we still stayed that close because we're both super inquisitive and love learning. And so that kind of was our bridge for a very long time. But how do you what's your next step? What's the next thing you're going to do other than grad school?
So far that's the biggest thing. That's like the big haul. I mean, right now it's just focusing on my like fitness goals, getting better at surfing, just doing things that I really enjoy and making time to spend with my family, but getting ready for the next step. Like my goal is essentially to go to school, end up either making my own company, working for a cool company, or staying like working for schools, and making like 70% of my income doing that, and then making the rest of the money by upscaling Black Nerds Matter. One of the biggest things for me is wanting to get an education, learning more things so that I can be even more an expert on social sciences and what makes Black nerds, and what science is, even from the natural sciences, like for me doing my diving work and kind of stuff. So I want to just become more credible and get better at storytelling. So I feel like I'm doing well now, but I want it to be when I'm done investing in myself with school in I'll say 6 years time, that I'm even better at doing the stuff that I'm doing now because I spent that time really looking in myself, looking at people near me, and just trying to be the best version of all those things because I don't expect this to be my peak. I mean, if I did that, I feel like I'm going backwards for the rest of my life. So it's just getting better at things that I love, right? That I found that I love now, and then
Hmm.
making them bigger and better so that I can have more of a view and ultimately help people and make enough money to do the things that I love doing.
No, I love that. And I love that you understand that there's no peak. There really isn't. Like, you can be 80 and realize, "Oh no, I like this next new thing." And allowing yourself permission to just grow and get better at the things that you love. And sometimes the things that you didn't like or you weren't good at, you become so good later on because you've worked on yourself so much that you realize you didn't fail at anything. You just learned really good lessons, and sometimes really hard lessons. I'm one of those people who really, I don't think that, very rare do I think that someone failed. Politics different, but but in regular life, I just think we learn really hard lessons or really easy lessons, but they're all lessons, and that makes me super happy. This has been such a good conversation. you you were worried yesterday. You were
Absolutely.
like, I usually talk to people who say I like the color black. I'm like, dude, we're gonna have a good conversation today.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Something that you talked about earlier that I want to really touch on before this thing is ending, but before this whole thing is over, because I'm really enjoying this right now. But how are you able to really quiet your mind as an overthinker? That's something that I struggled with for a while. I have like my own little things, but I know that's a really big thing, especially as in the academic field. A lot of we're forced to think of everything and think of all things that can go wrong, but there's times, especially with people and things that you cannot control, that if you think about it over and over again, you're just gonna mull your brain to death, and then that ruminating will ultimately be your downfall, I think.
No, I agree. I had to learn through trial and error that there's no one way to quiet your mind. So for me, I'm one of those people who I study and listen to music and have the TV playing, and all of those things are doing different things for my mind, right? So I'm like, I can study and literally be reading what's happening. It's a song playing that's the background music to whatever life that I'm living at that time. I have friends on television. That's where we are. We're kind of living that life. But I had to take away the stigma of, if I didn't do yoga a particular way, or if I didn't do meditation a particular way, or if I didn't do box breathing a particular way, that it made me less of a mental health advocate, or less, or that I didn't care about mental health. I realized that my playlist is my quiet space, right? And it just depends on what I'm putting on there, or when I am sitting down with myself, kind of really cocooning myself from, I haven't watched the news in like 10 years. That was a big thing that I had to do for myself. And it's not that I don't know what's happening with the world. I just choose to I choose how I want to receive that news. Like if you're going to create an algorithm for me, I want to be in charge of the algorithm 100% of
Hmm.
the time. Things creep in, but for the most part, that's the way I am. But learning how to focus on the thing or the things, because at different times, Deidric today may think that the water is great. Tomorrow, it may be that you need to be on land. Tuesday, you may be rock climbing, but does rock climbing make you calm? You think about yourself rock climbing. Nobody else is with you. It's just me. How do I feel? Where am I putting my foot placements? What is my hand grabbing? That's quiet for some people, right? Because you have to depend on your
Yeah.
body and your mind to get you where you need to be instead of thinking it has to be silent on the inside. I'm a SpongeBob episode. I'm I'm letting things fall out of my brain at every turn there is. But when I'm quiet, it's because this song is my song, or this playlist is really great, or this activity is really great. Where I don't allow anybody else into that space. It's just all the joy. I was talking to the last episode I did. I was talking to Dr. Ivan D. Young, and he said it perfectly. He was like, you have to find peace in order to find joy. So where is your peace for right
Hmm.
now? In this day, like in this time, what's your peace? Make that the place that you go to focus where nobody else can interrupt it.
Absolutely. I think it's so important for people to understand that you have to actively work to be happy. Like
Mm.
being happy isn't just a okay, this is good. Like something for me that was big was journey over destination. I know that that's such a like cliche thing, whatever. But I mean, I like in school, I did a lot of awesome things during school, like a lot of internships, a lot of cool stuff. And I was really happy and proud about those. But I couldn't just only be happy when I'm at an internship. Like that's a big thing that happens once a year. I can't hate the rest of the um 9, 10 months of my life and be like, okay, well, I have to get here to be happy. I have to get here to be happy. Like, I
Yeah.
have to find my happiness in there. And that's something that I realized especially my senior year, because I lived on the water. I was going swimming here and there, but I just found that some of the things I was doing weren't filling me as much as I wanted them to. Like at one point, I was just going out partying and drinking with my buddies, and that was enough for me to, unwind from a week of school. But then I got like my senior year, I was like, okay, this isn't fun anymore. Let me find something else. And then I realized, okay, we have the water here all the time. I'm just gonna go run every single day. And then when I finish running, jump in the water. Like no matter what, I'm gonna go jump in the water every single day. And I did that and it just improved my mood and how I dealt with things a million times. And I just realized, man, like me looking forward to just that simple thing, jumping in the water every day is a big deal. Like that's part of the journey and that's what I enjoy. But if I go to school and say, okay, I'll be happy when I get this degree in 4 years, I'm okay. 4 years just passed me by and I hated every moment of it. But I didn't
Yeah.
look at all the cool stuff. Like you really do have to, um, stop and smell the roses. And that was a big thing for me is curating my own happiness. So
Mm.
and a lot of that was kind of not having money, and that's a whole other thing, just
Hey,
being
hey,
a
join me.
student not having money.
As an
Yeah,
adult, not having
like
money.
yeah, so you want to do stuff but you can't afford it, all these kind of things, and I'm like, no, I might need that money later. But now I'm at the kind of the mindset of if I want to do something and it costs, I'm gonna pay for it. Like I paid for my rock climbing thing, I bought surfboards, like I pay to go drive out somewhere, blah blah blah, because if I really need that, like the money will come back. And I think it's more important. If I gotta give $40 to be happy, I'll do it because it's
Yeah.
worth being happy. I'd rather not hate my life and be $40 broker. You know what I mean?
No, I do, and I love that you're learning so much earlier to celebrate your small wins, right? That jumping in the water is your win for the day, right? It's like I know that they certain things I can control and certain things I can't control. Like I can't control the whole 4 years, but I can control me running. I can control me hitting that water, me feeling like I accomplished something, and it's something I always tell people you have to look for ways to have just a little serotonin drop, just a little pop, not all the time. You don't need it because your body can be stressed with too many happy hormones because you have to keep up in that. The adrenaline rush has to be higher and higher and higher. And at some point, you're like, okay, I can't reach. Or maybe you can. I don't know. I get excited about everything, but that's kind of like the golden retriever thing that happens with life after making it to, like I always tell people, my husband, I'm like, I made it to where I wanted to be because I had such a limited idea of where I wanted to go. And everything after that has been, it's been God's work. And not in like a super religious way, but just like in a way where it's like, damn, like, did you see that? Did you see what we just did? And he's like, I did, babe. Calm down. Like, people are looking. I'm like, I got orange wig on. Like, they're gonna look. It's what's gonna happen.
And it's awesome that you're just not afraid to be yourself. I think a lot of it is just that I feel that a lot of times I meet people or I experience people that kind of have this, like I say, ambassador or this face, like this the self that they project to the world that they want people to see them as. And I feel like that is such a flawed notion
Mm,
because you're gonna get the people you want by being who you are. The mask is eventually gonna fade, and it takes you work to keep that up. If you're sucking your stomach in to seem skinny all the time, you're gonna eventually run out of breath. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And you gotta just be okay. Like there's gonna be people that just love you for having the gut out, and that's okay. But you gotta find those people, and then it makes it easier to get rid of people that don't matter because you're truly being who you are. And I love that you're wearing the wig. Like that's fun. And if someone has something like I used to have a lot of the issues of in my mind, oh, what are people gonna say? Like they're judging me, whatever. And I was like, no, I'm projecting the bad thing I think about myself onto them, and then hurting my own feelings, telling them, oh, everybody hates you, think you're ugly. And I'm like, oh yeah, well, I don't like him either. He's ugly too, all that kind of stuff. And it's like it's not even that big of a deal. Like, let me just if and I just think now, oh, I'm gonna enjoy myself. If someone thinks I look stupid on my board or doing something, or I fall climbing, and they're don't like that, I mean, they have bigger problems if they're worried about me doing that. I'm gonna
Yeah.
just enjoy me and do my life. And I learned that most people are just inherently selfish. We're thinking about ourselves. Ain't nobody really thinking about you and what you got going on. So you got to enjoy all the little stuff and wear your orange wig, do your podcast, and have fun and be silly because that's what it's about.
No, I agree. And I love your ambassador. I always tell people I stopped masking a long time ago because I had a really bad corporate voice. Like I tell people, yes, there's gonna always be code switching, but I realize that the closer I am to my authentic self, the easier it is to remember the story, right? And I don't want to have to keep thinking about what I told this person that I did when I didn't do. My ambassador they retired a long time ago. And I'm glad that you realized at 23 that your ambassador does not need a job. Like they really don't need a job until you need them to show up. Be like, hey, I'm not having a good day. I need you to step in, say a couple words for me, and then let me go back to my office. But I am so grateful to have had this conversation and you're going places, you already know it. But seriously, like sometimes we need each other to say that and to really mean it because you're so much further ahead because your self-reflection and self-awareness is peaking at a great time. It's just peaking at a great time. And the more you pay attention to yourself and the people around you and the people who have and the have nots, it'll make you such a cleaner version of yourself so much earlier in life.
Yeah, you be the person that your grandma and your dog think you are. That's my advice.
Like my dog thinks that I'm a chef and I am not. But it works itself out. No, but thank you guys so much for being a part of our a live podcast prompt. This was so good. I know it's going to be replaying on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, the Alive Podcast app. I think that's it. No, oh, and Twitch. Yes, in Twitch. So
Yeah,
thank you
yeah,
guys.
Twitch. Yeah.
Yes, we will talk to you
Sweet.
guys soon. Bye.
Bye.
That was good. Yay.